My name is Jess Morgan. I'm 28 years old and I'm a freelance writer and copy editor. I would describe myself as a classical liberal. If you want to use more contemporary language, I'm a libertarian. I would also call myself an internationalist. I'm pro-trade, pro-labor mobility, and generally pro-integration. And I would also describe myself as socially liberal. Well, I only really became a large C conservative last year. There was a candidate I favored for the leadership race, and I was very active for that candidate. And as a result, I got my membership so I could vote in that race. Before that, I had intended to vote for the Conservatives in the 2015 election. I was not fond of what the Liberals had to offer. I was less fond of what the NDP had to offer. And I was pretty okay with what the Conservatives had to offer until they started doing some very strange things like campaigning with the Fords and talking about barbaric cultural practices. I found that very unbecoming of the party. I thought after so many years in power, they should have had a more positive record to pitch and a more positive vision for the next 10 years in power. And they ended up being a disappointment. So as a result, when it came time to vote, I just couldn't bring myself to walk to the polling station and put in that ballot. Now, I'm not the sort of person who's easily offended. I actually pride myself on that quite a bit. But I do find it absolutely unnecessary to try to offend people with what you say. If what you have to say is challenging enough to the way people approach politics, then you don't have to make an effort. You just have to say what's on your mind. I don't think that's how a lot of politically active people these days are approaching it. They just want to be provocative for provocation's sake. And that doesn't help us move forward politically. It doesn't help us move forward from a policy perspective. And I think people should take a more serious, policy-focused approach to the conversations they're having. I think people should be more cynical. I think people should be less sentimental. I think they should get less attached to people and to ideas. I think people should ultimately remember that politics, electoral politics as we know them, is about power. It's not about furthering the interests of this group or that group. It's about politicians seeking power and seeking rent. And when you remember that, when you come into politics with the expectation that nobody speaks for you, that nobody represents you, you're better equipped to represent yourself and represent your own ideas. You're less disappointed because your expectations are so much lower. That's really the problem with electoral politics these days, is that people feel too much and they don't think enough.